You're tuned in to Control Talk Now, your control news of the week with Ken Smyers and Eric Stromquist.
Welcome to Control Talk Now. This is your host, Eric Stromquist. I'm joined, as usual, by the man, the myth, the legend, the man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the one, the only, Ken Smyers. Hey, Kenny, another week of Control Talk Now.
Sure is, Eric. A lot of great stuff to talk about. Thank you for the great introduction again, and I wish everybody knows how hard you work to get all this done, and what a great job you're doing.
Well, thanks. Right back at you, Kenny. Right back at you. Well, listen, let's start off. It's Memorial Day. A special thank you to all the veterans out there. And, hey, for our viewers who might not know, Kenny, you were in the Air Force, so happy Memorial Day to you as well.
Well, thank you, Eric. Hats off, and thank you very much to all the good people doing a great job keeping things going as well as they are. And we hope they enjoy the day and their families as well.
Yeah. So, Kenny, tell our viewers who our sponsor is this week.
Eric, the sponsor of Control Talk Now, ending week May 26th, is Ibicon 2013, the revolution in redefining real estate operations. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Realcomm and Ibicon and what's happening?
Well, yeah, I tell you, Kenny, we've known about Realcomm for a while, and you and I had an opportunity to talk with Jim Young and Howard Berger this week for the first time, and wow, those guys are just off the chain. Jim, and they've been around, they're really sort of the intersection, if you will, of commercial real estate with technology. If you go to the Realcomm website, go back to some of the advisories that go way back to 2002, 2003. Wow, Jim Young was calling IP-based controllers before I think anybody had really heard of them. So these guys are truly visionaries, and Ibicon is the show, if you will, where the end users come together and to learn about our technology and building technology. So it is the show to be at for sure.
Right, Eric. In fact, for our Control Trends community, Ibicon 213 is the epicenter of intelligent buildings. Thought leaders converge in Orlando, Florida, June 11th through the 13th, 2013. And it's not too late to get down there and be a part of this. And we will have another post next week with more details and more information.
Yeah, Kenny, you and I are going to be there. We're going to go down and cover it. So please sign up if you're a systems integrator or if you're a property manager. Anything to do with automation or integration, this is the show for you. So be sure to sign up. Let's put a link below, Kenny, so that they can have a sign up to get to the Ibicon show. Be sure to come say hi to Kenny and I if you go down there.
We'll do it.
All right, Kenny, so let's get to the news of the week. What did we have up first this last week?
All right, Eric, we're going to revisit Haystack Connect. 2013 brings together companies, technology, people, and redefining smart devices and connected systems. So you had a couple of posts on that. Why don't you tell us about the first one on the 200 technology providers, systems integrators, and forward users came together in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and tell us about the posts that you made.
Yeah, Kenny. Well, we sort of showed up with some video cameras, and I tell you what, I've got so much video footage. I'm still trying to get edited and get put up on Control Trends. But one of the really cool things that we saw was actually live. It showed the power of the Haystack protocol, and essentially it's using tags instead of links. You can go see that video. It's pretty darn impressive. They were bringing controllers and buildings live on stage and actually using the tags to have them communicate. So very, very powerful demonstration of, I think, what the Haystack Connect's all about. So that was the first one that we posted, so be sure to check that out. It's got Scott Mensch and Jason Briggs from J2 Innovation dressed up as hillbillies. Our friend Ken Sinclair likes to call them the hayseeds, sowing seeds one at a time. So I think the people at Haystack are onto something. Be sure to check that out. So that was the first post, Kenny.
Yeah, it was very entertaining. Next up, Eric, was what you should know about EnOcean Wireless Sensors and why you should know about it.
So Kenny, I tell you what, before I talk about the EnOcean sensors, both you and I are handling Can2Go, the product line. Tell our listeners a little bit about Can2Go.
For sure, it takes wireless to the next level, Eric. Can2Go has the ability to bring in 3 or 4 different protocols through one network, and you can take that into your Niagara network as well. But EnOcean, Zigbee, Modbus, and BACnet. So this gives you so much flexibility to do these light commercial projects where budgets are tight and there's no room for excess controls. You just need to get what you want to control, the points you need to control. And EnOcean and Zigbee now show up as BACnet points, which mean they become smart points, and you can tie things to them and control them. So it's a great technology, and it's coming down to our level where we can make good use of it and provide very, very efficient solutions to our customers.
Yeah, and I think, Kenny, it really addresses that small to light building, commercial building application, and the fact that it's wireless, the ease of installation with that, and that brings us to EnOcean. EnOcean is a wireless technology. They're basically, for the most part, self-generating sensors. So it's really, really cool. They either pick up, light from around the space, or sometimes just turn the switch on and off generates the power that these sensors need to actually operate. So imagine, if you will, having a temperature sensor that's an EnOcean sensor that maybe has a Velcro on the back of it. You can just move it from space to space to space, move it around, and if it's in sight of your controller, it'll pick it up. So it's a great way to get temperature sensing, humidity sensing, and digital ins and outs. So EnOcean's a really, really cool technology, and it's kind of cool the way Can2Go brings that in, as well as the mesh technology to go from controller to controller. So I think Can2Go is onto something here. Schneider Electric owns them now. We were actually in training last week on the product, Kenny, and it looks really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them for Product of the Year again. Next up, Eric, was Jim Laufrey from Logica Lighting. And again, I'm going to have to throw this one back at you. I know you and Jim are very close, and he's got a great product. We have not had Logica Lighting in our area yet, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to defer that to you.
Yeah, well, Jim is a very interesting guy, Kenny. He got his start in the lighting into the business on the commercial side. He actually lit Mick Jagger once at a concert. So, I mean, it can't be all bad if he did a Rolling Stones concert. But Jim's an inventor, very sort of interesting guy. But he invented a product called the Switch Genie, if you will. So taking what can be sort of complicated in terms of lighting and making it kind of simple. But essentially what it does is it takes a ballast, and you can sort of load shed the ballast, if you will, by turning one bulb off, two bulbs off, three bulbs off, and rotating those around. So Jim was actually one of the speakers at Haystack Connect, and we had the good fortune to video his session. So that's actually up on ControlTrends.org. So be sure to check Jim's post out. And Jim can be reached at logicallightingcontrols.com. We'll put a link below so you can go to his website.
Right now, next up was Contemporary Controls and George Thomas. George Thomas is a modest master of automation. Contemporary Controls has a long list of industry milestones, industry first dating back to 1975. George and Contemporary Controls first developed a microprocessor-based computing ratio meter, and later pioneered and implemented ArcNet. Now they're a globally recognized company, and they specialize in original design manufacturing.
What a super guy, Kenny. It was the first time I'd met George. We buy some of his products, some of his BACnet routers, and we'd actually posted, he did a great video series on, BACnet, sort of for beginners through intermediate, which we posted that video series on Control Trends. So we got to meet him at Haystack Connect. He was actually a speaker at a session that we moderated on hardware. What a brilliant guy, Kenny. I mean, just a super, super nice guy, but probably one of the smartest guys that I've met. And he's been around forever with it. I mean, he's a soup to nuts type guy. So very interesting guy. Check him out. Like I said, we videoed his session at Haystack Connect. You can see it on Control Trends. Be sure to check his company out, contemporarycontrols.com. Very, very good routers and pieces like that. So, George, it was a pleasure meeting you, and we look forward to selling some more of your stuff.
One other thing, to George Thomas's credit, he took offense when one of the gentlemen, a prior speaker, kind of poo-pooed controllers, and he said controllers aren't exciting anymore. And George says, "What are you talking about? I love controllers. Controllers are very exciting."
Yeah. And we're talking about a guy who understands, is hands-on with the machinery that manufactures the controllers. And it was kind of interesting in the session. You get him and Lim from EasyIO, talking about the Linux platform and how that's, affecting controllers and the horsepower and the power of these IP controllers. So it was a pleasure being around those two guys.
Sure was. All right, Eric, last up we had another HVAC giant. It was a presentation, a blog about James Alex Train and the story of Train Corporation. And what a neat place. I mean, you could just Google that stuff all day and just keep learning about it. As the air conditioning becomes more and more critical this time of the year, I know my customers you're working hard to get the cooling towers up and running. I mean, they already are, but it's the important time of the year. You never know how important refrigeration and air conditioning and cooling is until you absolutely need it. And they got to move people out of a wing of a hospital because something's not right. So, but it was just a great American success story. James Alex Train came from Tromsø, Norway, and was an immigrant who settled in the La Crosse, Wisconsin area in 1864. Started out as a steam fitter plumber. 1885 opened his own plumbing shop, and then the rest is history. His son went and got an engineering degree, came back, and they co-founded Train. And like I said, the rest is history. Everybody knows Train. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, Kenny, I got to compliment you. I mean, last week it was Willis Carrier. This week, Train. I mean, I'm loving the history lessons. I mean, you really bring these characters to life with the way you write about them. So thanks very much for that. But yeah, Train Carrier. Who is it going to be next week? Lennox? We don't know. You have to come to Control Trends and check it out. Okay, so there you have it. That's it, Kenny, for this week. Special thanks to our sponsors, Jim Young, Howard Berger from Realcom. Be sure to register for that conference in Orlando, Florida, coming up June 11th through the 13th. It's a place to be. Kenny, thanks again to all our veterans, and have a great week.
Indeed, Eric.